Hello, everybody, and welcome to Trackalicious. I am Kujaterekov. We will be broadcasting you tonight's race of Le Mans Ultimate around COTA. We've got the season opener here in the Multiclass Championship held here at Trackalicious. Hope you're all having a good day, evening, or night so far, wherever you may be joining us from, or morning if it's the next day. Happy Tuesday or Wednesday. Happy start of the week. Hope it's been going well so far for everybody joining us here tonight. If you are new, welcome. We are going to be in for a treat. Multi-class racing around COTA in Le Mans Ultimate. We got the HYPERCARs and the GT3s for a 70-minute race with 2-time fuel consumption. Qualifying is underway. Let's head to the track and see what is going down just outside of Austin at the beautiful Circuit of the Americas. 20-minute qualifying session. First 10 minutes will be for the GT3s. After that, the final 10 minutes will be for the HYPERCARs. So here we got George Elmer in the Proton Racing, getting his outlap started, just coming out of the pits, looking to get those tires and the brakes, and himself ready to post a flying lap around the 3.46 mile configuration here at COTA. Slightly up the road in the Corvette is Jake Terrell in the number 81. Going through turn 16. The big grandstands are there for the very quick double right-hand apex at 17 and 18, going down the hill ever so slightly. The hill covering our view there of Jake as he goes through the final sector. I believe Chandler Williams just in front as Jake Terrell and the Ferrari of Denver Abbott looking to make a bit of a gap as they round the final corner and begin their first flying lap attempt. Seven HYPERCARs on the grid, 9 GT3s in the grid tonight. COTA, of course, DLC track, so perhaps missing a few drivers because of that. But nonetheless, we should be in for some very tight racing between both the HYPERCARs and the GT3s. Belker still in the pits in the number 44 Ford, waiting to see what sort of times await us from him. This is Fujiwara going through turn number 10, I believe. No, that was turn 11 before the very long back straight at COTA. Good times posted from the first sector so far from those who have gone through. Very, very tight between those. Nearly 2/10 is the biggest difference out on track currently through the first sector. Very twisty bit coming up here of turns 13, 14, 15, and 16. Thank you for following, Marshall. Hope you are enjoying what we're putting out so far. Just a little under 4 minutes gone by in the qualifying session so far. No lap times yet from our GT3s. Just yet, still awaiting a valid lap. And it looks like we might just have one on the board from the 95 McLaren as he goes through the final corner to the start-finish line and what will be the provisional pole time to chase. Unfortunately, doesn't look like it was a valid lap there for Fujiwara, so he will have to go around once more. Jake Terrell, though, posting the time to beat at 2:08.226. Chandler Williams trying to beat that time as he goes through the final corner to the line and beats it by 1/1000th of a second. Lester Banks in with a valid lap. Good enough for third place in the Porsche. One bigly across the line as well. 3.9 seconds off of pole position. So that just leaves Fujiwara, Abbott, Felker, George Elmer, and Parker Standrett to complete their flying lap attempts. George Elmer crosses the line to take fourth, pushes Bigley down into fifth, needs another second around this 20 corner configuration at COTA to try and get a top 3 position. Just under 5 minutes left for the GT3s. The qualifying goes quick. It is basically just 2 10-minute sessions. One for the GT3s and then one for the hypercars. Here is Parker Standrett finishing off the back straight. Very long back straight. 0.62 of a mile to be exact. Or actually, he's just starting it now. You're getting my corners confused already. He was going through turn 11, now starting this very long back straight leading up to turn 12, which will be a very good overtaking opportunity come the race. But for now, he's just worried about taking the fastest line through there. The brakes glowing hot as he's trying to slow it down from the fastest point of the track to one of the slowest, going through 13 and 14 without any dramas here so far, keeping it valid within the white lines for the time being. Jake Terrell improves his time at the top. A 2:07.771 is now the time to beat. Has a pretty good gap over Chandler Williams behind. Fujiwara across the line takes third place. Banks down into fourth, and Abbott splits Elmer and Banks for fifth place. One bigly pushed down now into seventh place. How high can Parker go? Currently, no valid lap set from the McLaren, and he is on the board. The lap is good enough for eighth place for the time being. He will have one or two more attempts to try and beat that time and work his way up the grid. This is Chandler Williams, the Mustang, currently in second place. The target time we see at the bottom right there, a 2:07.71. He is improving massively in the first sector, but can he maintain that form as he drifts through turn 11? And that will not help his chances, as that slows him down for this entire back straight, and the Ford will try to get as high as it can to its top speed. Let's ride on board with Chandler going through the last part of the lap. Very tight turn 12, nearly having to rotate the steering wheel over itself as he goes through turn 13, opening up for 14, and then a very tricky complex here at 15 and 16. The apex ever so closing, really rotating the wheel there to get the car fully around turn 16 before the very quick turn 17 and 18, having to lift there before going down the hill to the braking zone. A very bit of a dabble on the brakes, down the gears before hitting the limiter again, and one corner left for Chandler Williams. How high can he get up the field? He is in second place already, has one position in front. Can he get it as he crosses the line? Not quite, needs another 2.5 tenths of improvement, but this will be his last flying lap attempt to get that done. Denver Abbott just ahead on the track, currently sitting in fifth place. Also looking for an improvement. A few drivers already in the pits. Fujiwara, Banks, and Felker will not be able to improve on the position that they stand. Their fate is left out to the drivers on track, and Abbott spinning out of turn number 9, going out of the track boundary, invalidates his lap, and that will be his session done. as Chandler Williams as well returns to the pits. So it is now just George Elmer and Jake Terrell trying to change their current position. Jake Terrell already having pole position, can't go any higher than he currently is, but still wanting to set that purple lap as he oversteers at the exit of turn 13, cutting through the grass, invalidating his lap. So now it is just George Elmer in the 88 Ford left of the GT3s to try and change his position. Currently sitting in 6th place. Needs about half a second to try and take the Ferrari in 5th place. Needs another 4/10 on top of that if he wants to get up into 4th place. One Bigley, thanks so much, my fan. $10 donation. Thank you so much for the support and all you do at Trackalicious. Couldn't do it without you guys signing up. One Bigley, a regular here. So thank you, thank you. Thank you from everybody here at Trackalicious, from me, the admins, all the managers getting everything set up. Thank you so much for that donation. George Elmer, just a few corners left. Can he improve up the grid and potentially slide himself into the top 5? Just needs a couple more tenths. The cameras can't keep up with how fast that GT3 is going. As just the 20th and final corner remains, a bit of a slide out of the exit. Can he improve? He does. He gets into the top 5, pushes Abbott in the 54 Ferrari down into 6th place. And now our hypercars are out for their outlaps. Also, thank you for the follow there, my friend. Missed that a little bit earlier, but thank you for following along, joining us for this broadcast of the season opener for the GT3 and Hypercar Mixed Multiclass 4-Race Championship season opener here at COTA tonight. Looking at the timings on the left-hand side, Jake Terrell on top of the GT3s, followed by Williams, then Fujiwara in 3rd, Banks in 4th, Elmer 5th, Abbott 6th, Felker in 7th, One Bigley in 8th, and Parker Standret will start from 9th place. That is the GT3s, and now comes the Hypercar field. Marshall Stanley was the first across the line in the Toyota Gazoo Racing as he really charges through the S's, using all of the downforce of those hypercars, carrying all of the speed, nearly losing it through turn 6, able to maintain it though. We see no time on the board there, but that is a purple sector from the Toyota so far. Has the Cadillac, I believe that is Siege Engine in the number 2 behind, or Provolone in the number 3. Get my colors of the Cadillacs mixed up all the time. I can't remember if the 2 or the 3 is blue or yellow, but nonetheless, this is Marshall Stanley in the black Toyota Gazoo Racing, going down the back straight. We should be seeing times in the 150s here for the hypercars, slightly quicker than the GT3s. The rear brakes working hard, glowing hot on that Toyota. The front's not having to work as heavy, not quite under the load as the rears are through the heavy braking zones at turn 12. And there is a time on the board from Jake Finn, a 54.612 is the time to beat. Siege Engine is in 2nd. Felipe Chagas qualifying with a good time, good enough for 3rd place at the moment in the 83 Ferrari. How high can Marshall Stanley go through the field? Final corner, blasting down to the start-finish line. Where will the Toyota go? The Toyota takes provisional pole position. A 154.369 is the time to chase. And that was Jason Provolone behind in the number 3 Cadillac. The yellow one is the number 3. The blue one is the number 2. Not able to set a valid lap on his last attempt. Must have just run wide out of track limits. as we have him, Hunter Davis, and Hunter Lynch still looking for a valid lap. This is Davis in the Peugeot, the number 93, just behind on track, going through turn number 6. Very high speed section of the S's at the beginning to open the lap, before slowing it down, going up the hill, and now back down through turn number 9 and number 10, the heavy braking zone of 11. Very crucial to get the exit right before this absolutely long back straight, 0.62 of a mile. Absolutely full throttle as the undulations are really present, going uphill, then downhill, then back up again into the braking zone at turn 12. Braking just after the 150-meter mark. In most of the cars here, the GT3s and their hypercars have pretty similar braking points. Just shows you how powerful those brakes are on the hypercars, being able to slow the car down from so much faster, as efficiently as the GT3s, handling turn 15 and 16 just fine. Just the high-speed section left of 17 and 18 before the two left-handers to close down, or to close out the lap. Oh, oversteering down the hill at turn 19, avoiding the gravel trap, but that'll flat spot his tires certainly, and that will not be a pleasant journey for his remaining laps in the qualifying. Hunter Lynch was able to get on the board, qualifying at a time good enough for 5th place. Provolone also on the board, currently in 6th. So just Hunter Davis in the Peugeot, looking for a valid lap with 3 minutes left in the session. Felipe Chagas currently rounding out the podium in 3rd place in the 83 Ferrari. Game audio up. 15. Check. You got it, my friend. Hopefully that fixes that issue. Let me know if there are any more audio problems, and we'll try to get those sorted as soon as possible. And this here, Felipe Chagas now going through the final corner up to the line. Can he improve on his time? Not quite able to on this lap. Just has Jake Finn in front in the 38 Porsche. He's actually behind him on track. So he will try to chase the time of Jake Finn, who will try to chase down Stanley, having the provisional pole time. The Porsche sliding through turn 4, one of the faster corners of the S's, and Jake Finn hanging on for dear life, but the Porsche still pointed in the correct direction as he goes through the uphill section of turn 8, now down the hill through turn 10 before the braking zone at turn 11. A minute and a half left in the qualifying, so it might be this plus one more lap for the runners here, trying to get a quicker time out on the board. Felipe Chagas back in the pits, so that will be his flying lap attempts completed. 3rd will be as high as he can go. Siege Engine Davis now on the board, has a top 5 position, a few tenths down of Felipe Chagas, so if he can find a bit of an improvement, he might just sneak into the top 3. Siege Engine back in the pit, so 4th is the highest that the number 2 Cadillac will be able to qualify. Can Jake Finn put the time down on this lap, or just is he looking to get across the line before the timer hits 0 for another flying lap attempt? Hunter Lynch in the Lamborghini here, just behind the Porsche, I should say, on track through turn 19, all under control, no oversteer, no drifts, as he heads to the final corner. Can he get higher than 6th place. He does improve his time by about a second, but he needs another second to chase down the other Hunter. Hunter Davis currently in 5th place as the timer hits 0. Lynch was able to get across the line before the timer hit 0, so he will have one more flying lap attempt to try and change the grid order. Jason Provolone going through turn 12 in the Cadillac, currently in 7th place in the number 3. Oh, a bit of a lockup there as he tries to get the car slowed down for turn 13, but he just can't find the grip in the tires. The fronts on the Cadillac compared to the Toyotas glowing hot in these qualifying conditions. Going through the quick double right-hander before the 2 left-handers to close out the lap. Down the hill, keeping the Cadillac all under control here as he just has 1 corner left. Smashes it on the power, nearly losing the Cadillac. But can he improve his time? He can improve his time, but just can't quite find the pace to improve his position. So now Hunter Lynch and Jake Finn here in the 38 Hertz Team Jota Porsche, the last 2 out on track, looking for an improvement to try and close the gap to pole position, maybe even take Stanley if he can find the pace in the Porsche, currently on the front row. But can he be first on the front row? Oversteers out of the final corner, and that is the qualifying session done for the Porsche, as Hunter Lynch also not able to find any improvements. He will just pull off to the side there, and that is the qualifying session done for the hypercars and the GT3. So the hypercar field will be Stanley leading the way from pole with Finn in 2nd, Chagas in 3rd, Siege Engine in 4th, Hunter Davis and Hunter Lynch 5th and 6th respectively, and the Cheeseman Jason Provolone will start from 7th place. Let's remind ourselves of the GT3 qualifiers as well. Jake Terrell will start from pole position of the GT3s. He will have Chandler Williams for company on that front row in the 77 Mustang. Bunta Fujiwara in the 95 McLaren will start in 3rd. He will have Lester Banks for company on the 2nd row in the Porsche. George Elmer lines up next to Denver Abbott on the 3rd row.
For a race start.
Ford versus Ferrari, 3rd row there. And then you have the 2 Fords of Felker and 1 Bigley. The 44 and the 88 will be followed by Parker Standrett in the number 70 McLaren, starting from 9th in the GT3 field. Thank you all for joining us tonight. Hope you are enjoying the multi-class action in Le Mans Ultimate so far. Very exciting announcements made by Le Mans Ultimate for the updates that are to come. So should be an absolutely exciting time to get involved in Le Mans Ultimate. And if you fancy finding yourself on the grid here, signups are still open on SimGrid. Make sure to check that out. I think !SimGrid will take you to that link for all of the signups, not just the Hypercar and GT3. Also some fun ACC and iRacing championships involved at Trackalicious for the summer season ahead. Happy June to everyone. Hope you've all had a great start to the week so far. I know I have had the ACC GT4 rookies season start yesterday. That was a blast, watching some new rookies battling it out with some of the old ones. And now the multi-class chaos here in Le Mans Ultimate. 7 hypercars, 9 GT3s, We should have a few overlaps between the two during the race. There is also the 2-time fuel consumption for the drivers to worry about for their virtual energy tanks. So we might be seeing one, more than likely 2 pit stops, unless the drivers can really stretch out that virtual energy tank to make it 2 stops, or to make it just 1 stop in the 70 minutes. But more than likely we will see the 2 stops as the formation lap is underway here, starting out from turn 18, just turn 19 and 20 to go. Very short warm-up period for the cars here. Stanley, Finn, Chagas, Siege Engine in 4th. Can Hunter Davis make up ground? Unfortunately, it looks like we lost the other Hunter there, Hunter Lynch, in the Lamborghini. The green flag waves. The race is underway. Jake Finn trying to get a good start in the Porsche. Can he get the move done around the outside? Felipe Chagas might even look to the inside in the Ferrari, right on the bumper of the Toyota. The Porsche having to go wide. And now Hunter Davis finding himself moving up into 2nd place around the outside of the Ferrari before the S's. Fantastic move from the Peugeot to get those places, and Jake Finn unfortunately dropping from 2nd to 4th place. And in the GT3s, Jake Terrell still leading the way, but he's side by side with Chandler Williams going into turn 7. Can Chandler Williams fight with the Corvette? The 2 American manufacturers, Ford versus Chevy, in the battle of the GT3s at the front of the field. The McLaren of Fujiwara is looking pretty racy. He will try to close that gap as soon as he can. Banks still having 4th place. Denver Abbott moving up a position from the start up into 5th place now. George Elmer in 6th, Felker 7th. Sandrett and 1 Bigley dropping back into 9th, and now down this back straight. This will be one of the best overtaking opportunities for the drivers. Up ahead, Jake Finn able to get through Siege Engine, and at the front, Stanley under some heavy company from Hunter Davis, as he might even be looking to get the move done, but he's not quite close enough to get it. And now the lead of the GT3s side by side between the Ford. He has the inside of the tightening corner, pushing the Corvette to the outside, and Chandler Williams sweeps through for the lead of the GT3s. Great stuff from the leading duo, as Fujiwara and Banks not too far off, looking to get involved in case some things get hectic up in front here. Oh, and it looks like Felipe Chagas unfortunately dropping back a few places in the 83 Ferrari, now in 6th place. Moving Engine and Provolone up into 4th and 5th. Jake Terrell, can he find a move into turn 1, hanging it out wide? The Ford taking a slightly defensive line, has a bit of a wiggle, and now is it really going to be a side-by-side moment down the hill through turn 2? The Ford has the car's length advantage into the S's, and Jake Terrell can't get the move done just yet. Very difficult to get a move done into the S's, as the hypercars just ahead on track, going down the back straight now. Hunter Davis trying to close the gap to the Toyota of Stanley, but he is finding himself growing the gap just that little bit of a time. The slipstream not proving to be very effective for the Peugeot in closing the gap. And Jake Finn will try to change things as well, as he is not too far off that podium position, or excuse me, he is in that final podium position, but not too far off of this battling duo up ahead. So any little changes up here just might influence the changes at the back of the field, and we have a 3-car battle going into the braking zone at turn 12. George Elmer looking to the inside, and he's got it. And now George Elmer moves up into 5th place. Abbott moves into 6th, and Felker in the Ford actually now taking the position from the Ferrari, but the Ferrari fighting back down the inside. Side by side through turn 16 they go. They're still going to continue to go side by side down the hill through 17 and 18. The Ford pulling ahead. The Ferrari just can't keep the grip around the outside as effectively as the Ford can down the inside. So just having to drop back. But so that keeps Felker in 6th place with Denver Abbott in 7th. And Banks, Lester Banks into the pits early in the Porsche, perhaps just not having the fuel he needed to in the car. And it seems like he just drove through the pits. He didn't really come in for a pit stop. So not really sure what happened to Lester Banks there. But unfortunately for him, dropping back from 4th, now into the back of the grid in the GT3s. And something happened with Marshall Stanley as well. The leader of the hypercars finds himself in 5th place behind Felipe Chagas, just in front of Jason Provolone. So things are getting quite jumbled up here, as now Hunter Davis in the Peugeot, after starting from 5th, finds himself in the lead of the hypercars. Jake Finn back into the position he started in 2nd place. Siege Engine up into 3rd. And so it has been quite chaotic despite the 7-car hypercar field, even dropping down to 6th with losing Hunter Lynch at the beginning in the Lamborghini. And so now Hunter Davis finds himself in a good position here to try to run away from the Porsche of Jake Finn behind. The gap nearly stretched out to about a second between the front runners of the hypercars. Oh, and a drift from Hunter Davis going through turn 5. That will certainly help Jake Finn catch up to the leader of the hypercars. And a big gap has opened up from Chandler Williams to Jake Terrell. Nearly 2.5 seconds between the leaders of the GT3s. George Elmer not too far ahead of Felker, who recently got through the Ferrari of Abbott to take that 4th place. Here is the lovely sounding V8 Cadillac of Siege Engine, currently finding himself in that final podium position. Can he perhaps find a little bit more pace in the Cadillac, or is he just playing the long game and saving a little bit of fuel to not have to fuel up as much during that final pit stop, saving him a little bit of time and playing that long run game? With that 2x fuel consumption, it is absolutely crucial to get the timing down. There we can see the virtual energy left on the hypercars. So Davis using a little bit more than Jake Finn, and Siege Engine here with a good energy advantage over the others in the top 5. So the Cadillac perhaps just one of the best at not consuming as much virtual energy. As there's a battle here between the Ferrari and the Toyota. Chagas ahead of Stanley in 4th place for the time being, but Marshall Stanley qualifying in pole position certainly has the pace in the Toyota to work his way back through the field. On the limit of grip, they're going through turn 6 before turn 7. Now the slight uphill climb before charging back down. An oversteer moment from the Ferrari. Big braking zone coming up at 11. The Toyota lining up the inside move. Chagas does not budge, knowing that he has this long straightaway ahead to try and pull away, but the Toyota will really try and stay close to use that slipstream to the best of its advantage, not really able to pull in any closer to the Ferrari down the back straight. Pretty evenly matched as they go into the braking zone at turn 12. But on power, though, it looks like the Toyota just able to get the power down much more effectively as Chaga slides wide. Marshall slides through the inside of turn 13, and he gets the move done before the double left-hander at 15 and 16. Denver Abbott, I should say, back on the tail of Felker for 4th place. The yellow number 44 Ford just can't seem to find the pace to run away from the Ferrari, leaving himself a bit of a disadvantage, especially down this huge back straight, and the Ferrari lining up the wide line, carrying as much speed as it can, looking to get the power down. And now, can the Ferrari use the slipstream a little bit better than that hypercar, or than the hypercar of Stanley, I should say, to the Ferrari in front? But he doesn't look like he's close enough to really use it to his advantage. Just needs to find the pace through the turns. Brakes glowing hot on the Ferrari as well here. Typically pretty hot conditions in Austin, Texas. Very humid as well, keeping the temperature in the air. Proving another challenge for these machines to try and withstand those conditions and still have the effectiveness of the brakes that the drivers need to get those moves done and dusted in the heavy braking zones. But for the time being, it is things stay as they are, with Denver Abbott behind Felker for that 4th place. George Elmer still not too far up ahead either. He is within 2 seconds. You can see that black and gold number 88 just at the top of the pictures there, going up the hill at turn 1. Very heavy braking zone, but the fact that you're going uphill does help slow the car down just that tiny bit more than if it were just a little bit flat. Lots of gradient changes through the entire lap at COTA. The S is just slightly downhill after the peak at turn 1 is the highest that the drivers will go, and then a slight uphill climb here through turn 9 before going back downhill through turn 10 into a pretty heavy braking zone at turn 11. A good overtaking opportunity before the main straight, but also a good place to set up the over-under for this long back straight here, where Denver Abbott is once again trying to get close to the Ford in front, but he doesn't look like he's just close enough to use it to his advantage just yet. Not quite able to on the brakes, but just a couple cars behind. Parker Standrett and One Bigley battling for 6th and 7th place. One Bigley within a few tenths now of the McLaren, able to use the top speed advantage of the Ford to try and close down the gap to Parker in the number 70. That red McLaren just in front of shot there. But One Bigley pretty effectively closing down the gap in the past couple of laps here, closing it down to just within a second. Very difficult to follow a car closely through the fast turns at 18 or 17 and 18, I should say. One Bigley running just that touch wide at 19, but all within control. And all within the limits of the car. Not too far back on track, going through that same corner, Marshall Stanley now on the tail of the Cadillac of Siege Engine, going down the start-finish straight. Can the Toyota find the bit of a slipstream it needs to send a move to the inside of turn 1? The Cadillac just rubbing the floor. A bit of a lockup from the Cadillac as well. Not able to find the grip, or just over gripping a little bit, locking those brakes. But luckily for him, he was already slowed down pretty effectively. And now through the S's, Marshall Stanley will just have to stay put. Very difficult to line up a move. Is he going to try it into turn 7? He thought about it for a second, but just not quite close enough again to the back of that Cadillac to do the move. And is he just going to wait his time, plunging down turn 10 into turn 11? He might line up a move here to the inside, but just staying put for the time being. Might just use that straight line speed advantage, catching up to the GT3 cars in front. This is the overlap we were talking about. Siege Engine flashing the lights, letting the cars in front know that, hey, we are coming through. The hypercars are here into the braking zone at turn 12. This is the battle between, oh goodness, P3 and P4 in the hypercars. And I believe that's P6 and 7 in the GT3s. But the order stays put. Marshall Stanley still on the tail of Siege Engine. One Bigley on the back of Parker Standrett in the distance, or in the not too distant part of the track here, as Parker Standrett still in front of One Bigley, letting by Felipe Chagas there in that yellow AF Corsa Ferrari. The GT3s still hanging put for the time being. Was that the Ferrari of Abbott going slowly on the inside there? It wasn't sure if that was he had a moment out of the final corner, or whether he was just going slowly on the outside with an issue. But nonetheless, the Ferrari still hanging on to 5th place as the podium sitter Siege Engine approaches yet more GT3 traffic. That was Felker in the 44 yellow Mustang, and now here is George Elmer in the 88, letting both of the hypercars continue their battle, and that has brought in Felker just that little bit closer, so the two Fords might battle it out for that final podium position too. I keep wanting to say Morgan Stanley, and it's Marshall Stanley. Down the inside of turn 11, the Cadillac blocked up a little bit, leaving just that slight bit of room to the inside. And Stanley trying to take the room. Siege Engine closed it pretty quickly, but now Stanley has the inside line. He is dedicated to it. Deep on the brakes, the Toyota hangs on and gets the move done into turn 12 and takes the podium place away from Siege Engine. But Marshall Stanley, recovering well in the Toyota after qualifying in pole position, finds himself back in a podium position. He is 3.2 seconds back of Jake Finn in front. Felipe Chagas not too far off this battle as well, recovering after his unfortunate start, after starting from 3rd place on the grid. Take a look here at our virtual energy. Can't see the GT3s, but we can see that the hypercars are about a third, or still have about a third of their remaining energy left. So we should be seeing the pit stops within the next 10 to 15 minutes or so for the hypercars to make their first pit stop to top off that virtual energy tank and get back out there for some more racing. Hunter Davis in the lead of the hypercars. Jake Finn in 2nd place, 3 seconds down the road. Marshall Stanley, after that great move on Siege Engine, back up in a podium position in 3rd, and Siege Engine in 4th. Felipe Chagas in 5th. Jason Provolone in 6th in the number 3 Cadillac. And then in the GT3s, Chandler Williams leading the way. He's got about a 5-second gap over Jake Terrell, and he has a very good 12-second gap to George Elmer, who has that final podium position for the time being. But he is certainly not clear in the woods yet, as he has Felker for company just about 1 second down the road in 4th place. than Denver Abbott in the 54 Ferrari, about 6 seconds down the road, hanging on to a top 5 position. Parker Standret has one Bigley for company behind him. And was that that's Felker going through? As Felker went through on George Elmer, I wasn't sure if that was traffic or not, but that was Felker getting the move done. George Elmer just not able to get the grip out of turn 13 that he needed, it looked like. And now Felker finding himself in that final podium position. Very interesting. Can only speculate what happened there between the two Fords. But just as we tuned away, the two Fords were going side by side through turn 12. Wasn't sure if there was a mistake after that braking zone, but nonetheless, the 44 finds himself up into third place, and an oversteer moment out of turn number 1 gives the position right back. Gives it right back to George Elmer, and the positions continue to stay the way they are. Very odd oversteer moment there, and Felker cutting through turn 4 of the S's. Perhaps just flat spotting the tires, maybe having a hardware issue of his own, and he is pulling over, and he might be going back to the pits here. So there is now Parker Standret moving up into the top 5, with one Bigley still not too far off, as Felker just parking it up there, with Lester Banks and Fujiwara both already in the pits with the GT3s. So it has been quite chaotic in the race so far, and we are just 22 minutes in. Parker Standret under pressure here once again from one Bigley, but it looks like he has that covered for the time being. But Jake Finn hopefully can do the same to the very quick Marshall Stanley, trying to close the gap as best as he can to Jake Finn. He has closed that gap, but as they say, getting close to one car is one thing, overtaking is another. How difficult will Jake Finn make life for Marshall Stanley, trying to get through and work his way back up into that top position he found himself in after the qualifying session? Has the fastest time on the board in qualifying, unfortunately having a bit of an incident. I can only presume what happened there, with Marshall dropping back down the order, but now working his way back up, lining up the move to the inside at turn 12 as he did on the Cadillac the lap or two before. A bit of an oversteer from the Porsche. This might be the moment up into turn 13, but not quite yet. Marshall Stanley just hangs put for the time being, as he will look to close the gap to the Porsche in front. The engine blew in the Ford. What happened there? How? I didn't even know that could happen. What? That's so strange. What happened? Was it? Well, we can only speculate. Was it just like too aggressive of a downshift or something? As Marshall Stanley now dives into the pits, he might be looking to get the undercut here on the 38 Porsche of Jake Finn, who continues out on track in second place. The Hertz Team Jota Porsche, just about 5 seconds behind of Hunter Davis in the lead of the hypercars. Probably on downshift, engine light came on and all power was gone. Man, that is so unlucky there. I didn't even know that could happen. My goodness. Well, that is certainly another aspect for everybody to consider. Maybe that's what happened to Lester Banks and Fujiwara as well, just suffering from some mechanical in-game issues. Must have not been built Ford tough. There you go. Dissing Ford already. I like to see it. Jason Provolone in the pits as well in the number 3 Cadillac, as Marshall Stanley is rolling out in the number 7 Toyota to continue his charge up through the field as he tries to get the undercut done on Jake Finn. Just getting through one of the 88 Fords there. It's either George Elmer or one Bigley, who is finding himself behind Parker Standrett still. You can see the top 5 of the GT3s still yet to stop, and the top 4 of the hypercars need to complete their pit stop. But Marshall Stanley here already completing his pit stop, as has Jason Provolone. And we will certainly see more than one with how early these cars have come into the pits so far. Siege Engine in the pits in the number 2 Cadillac here. As he will get the virtual energy topped up in the number 2 and get rolling back out on track here. The fans look on from the top. The 2D fans trying to understand what's going on in this 3D modeled world. Gap's fairly open for the time being. Hunter Davis in the lead in the Total Energies Peugeot, the number 93, the updated model with the rear wing in place. Who would have thought that having a rear wing on a race car would make it better? But the wingless Peugeot, still a very fun car to drive nonetheless. They are, if I'm not mistaken, I do believe the 2 Peugeots are of a different philosophy, where one was built for the LMDH specification and one was built for the LMH specification, if I am not mistaken there. Pretty much everybody in the GT3s in the pits now. Denver Abbott, Parker Standrett, Jake Terrell, and George Elmer. All 4 of them in the pits, and here is Hunter Davis, followed by Jake Finn in the Peugeot into the pits. And in LMU, it is very important to remember that there are collisions in the pits. And so you certainly don't want to be colliding with other drivers in the box to avoid picking up any further damage than you might be wanting to, as this is now the time to box. Just about 30 minutes into the race. We will certainly see one more pit stop come around the 10 to 15 minute mark, maybe even as high as the 20 mark for some of the drivers here in the pits. Hunter Davis car is serviced and he is back out on track, with Jake Finn not too far off as well, with those blinking yellow headlights on the Hertz Team Jota Porsche. Felipe Chagas in the 93 still stationary in the pits there, just waiting for the crew to be done with the car to get it done and serviced and find him back out on track. But this is the battle that happened before the pit stop, and it will continue as Jake Finn is able to hang on to second place for the time being, but being in the pit stop, or in the pit lane I should say, he has cooled his tires down significantly as he now tries to bring them back up to temperature and back up to pressure, as he is under heavy pressure from Stanley behind. Stanley thinking about a move into turn 10, but a very heavy curb, kind of deteriorating for the drivers from trying to make a move there, as Jake Finn running a little bit wide on the exit of turn 11 might give the grip advantage. And Chandler Williams with a DNF. What happened there? My goodness, it's going to absolute chaos everywhere. Jake Finn running wide in the braking zone of turn 12. Stanley moves up into second place in the Toyota. Chaos all the way up and down the grid from hypercars to GT3s. Chandler Williams with a DNF next to his name. Not sure what happened there, but Jake Terrell will inherit now the lead of the race. Or of the race of the GT3s, I should say. So now Marshall Stanley in the number 7 Toyota has 5.5 seconds to the Peugeot in front of Hunter Davis. We can just barely see it at the front of shot there, going up the hill into turn 1. And Jake Finn will look to stay as close as he can to the Toyota and use the slipstream and help the Porsche find a little bit of pace and try and close the gap to Hunter Davis in front. And yeah, Brian, I also am learning stuff on the fly, as are a bunch of drivers here. And yeah, certainly engine damage that quickly is quite surprising. I would kind of presume, like in the ACC model, that gives you a bit of time before your engine wears down, but here it just immediately looks like things just kind of blow up randomly. So that is certainly one thing to consider when doing longer endurance races that are supposedly announced in the future update of Le Mans Ultimate. So unfortunately for the 77 of Chandler Williams, finding himself back in the pits after taking the lead of the GT3s early on and not looking back, but unfortunately here finding a bit of mechanical trouble or technical trouble, software, hardware, whatever it may be. The Ford unfortunately dropping from the lead, now in 6th place of the GT3s, and that leaves just 5 GT3s out on track with the 6 hypercars. Hunter Davis in the lead of the hypercars, entering turn 1 now. Stanley not too far off in the distance, closing the gap very effectively. It was around 5 seconds on the previous lap, and he has closed it down to around 4.5 seconds now. Still a pit stop separating us from the conclusion of the race as well. So it'll be interesting to see what sort of strategy the hypercars decide to play out, whether a few of the drivers at the back decide to play the long game and try and take a shorter fuel stop at the end to save them a bit of time and perhaps find themselves move up the grid order. Jake Terrell having a good gap over one Bigley, nearly 27 seconds for the lead of the GT3s, the TF Sport Corvette. Qualifying on pole position, but losing the race lead in the opening laps to Chandler Williams, but able to get it back after some technical troubles to the Ford. And as the chat suggested, certainly not build Ford tough then. But the Chevy proving to be a bit more durable in the hands of Jake Terrell here, who continues to lap very effectively in the 208s. Corvette proving to be difficult to catch up from behind. One Bigley in second place has Abbott not too far off the Ferrari, just coming into shot there from the curb cam. One Bigley running just that touch wide, maybe picking up a little bit of a track limit violation there. And that is all decided by the game's software system. Based on a point system, you have, I'm not sure how many points the drivers have in this race, but basically you choose a number, say 5, and if there is a corner cut detected, the game gives you a penalty on a 0.5 scale as One Bigley drifting it through turn 5, just trying to find as much speed as he can with the Ferrari closing in. That gap now shrinking to about half a second. As One Bigley oversteering through the S's, just that slight bit, really allowing the Ferrari to close that gap, and running wide into turn 11. Again, a bit of a wiggle, applying the power down, really letting Denver Abbott close down effectively in the Vista AF Corsa Ferrari. This battle interrupting my little track limit spiel, but nonetheless, Denver Abbott bumper to bumper nearly now with the Ford. The Ford again running that touch wide. It just doesn't seem like those tires are hanging on very well. And now Abbott in the Ferrari up into second place. One Bigley back into third. And that is the Cadillac of Jason Provolone trying to work his way through the GT3 field. But there you have it. Denver Abbott up into second place after One Bigley running wide on the exit of turn 13. Couldn't quite find the grip to keep the momentum of the Ford going through the right-hander of 14 as well. And the Ferrari just slid on through. And looking now ahead to the gap of 30 seconds to Jake Terrell. Let's see if the Ferrari with a bit of clean air can find a little bit of pace and maybe just put a little bit of pressure on the Corvette come the closing minutes of the race. Yeah, I'd be very curious to hear from the drivers what exactly happened there. Whether it was some sort of issues with the wheel on their end, or whether they just broke the car in the game. Quick check on the hypercars. Hunter Davis, the gap between him and Stanley is shrinking lap by lap. Now down to about 3.9 seconds. So Stanley not quite as quick to closing the gap as he was to Siege Engine and Jake Finn. Hunter Davis proving that he certainly has a bit of pace in the Peugeot in the number 93. Currently holding on to the lead of the race. This is what a bunch of free air looks like from the splitter of the number 93. Approaching the braking zone at turn 12. Down through the gears. Back on the power. short blast before the braking zone at turn 13. Turn 14 and 15, pretty much straight on through there. And then the closing apex of turn 16, very similar to turns 9 and 10 at Bahrain on the Formula 1 calendar. And here, this pretty much triple right-hander, mimicking that of the left-hander at Istanbul Park. So lots of inspiration taken from very famous international racetracks and kind of applied all into one here at the Circuit of the Americas. Pardon me, take a quick water break. The game is starting to annoy me with these wheel settings. What do you mean by the wheel settings? I'm just curious. The gap very much shrinking now between Davis and Stanley, down from 3.8 to 2.5 as they go down the back straight. Less than 30 minutes remaining in the session for the drivers to do anything about their current positions. Hunter Davis making up ground at the beginning and not looking back, as it seems the speed comes and goes between the Peugeot and the Toyota, battling for the overall lead of the season opener here in the GT3 and HYPERCAR Multiclass Championship. Felipe Chagas in 6th place, trying to close to Jason Provolone, the cheese man, currently in 5th place. The gap is around 2.5 seconds. And Felipe Chagas has the better, fastest lap compared to Jason Provolone in front. So this battle might just heat up here. The front splitter dragging through turn number 16. Kicking up a bit of sparks from the front of the 83 Ferrari. As Chagas continues to try and use his pace to close down Jason Provolone. Pretty effective at doing it so on the last lap. The gap now down to 1.6 seconds. Siege Engine finding himself in a bit of no man's land at the time being. About 10-second gap to Jake Finn in front. Nearly 30 seconds to Jason Provolone behind. Two Cadillacs running in 4th and 5th place. There is still that one pit stop more than likely remaining for the drivers. We're very curious to see if any of the drivers perhaps just using their energy a bit more efficiently, as we can take a look here at the status of the virtual energies for the hypercars. Davis and Finn doing a pretty good job of conserving a little bit, as is Siege Engine. Jason Provolone and Stanley about a quarter full, so they will have to come in within the next 10 minutes or so to get those virtual energy tanks topped up, so they can continue out for the remainder of the race. And of course, the longer the drivers go in the race, the less they have to fill their cars up, and that will save them time during the pit stop. So the longer that Davis and Finn and even Engine here can go, more than likely that might just might gain them that crucial bit of time they need to continue to battle with the cars in front. Great rumble from the V8 of the Cadillac there going through turn 11. In fact, let's ride on board with one of the drivers here, Felipe Chagas, looking on the rear end of the car. Not quite helpful in these race situations because the car he is battling is in front here. Jason Provolone looking on from the back of the Cadillac. He has the yellow Ferrari of Felipe Chagas now for company as they go down the back straight. The V8 roaring of Provolone's Cadillac. And there we have the braking zone of turn 12. Chagas not quite able to close down as effectively on the braking zone, but here through turn 16, where you have to brake and turn at the same time, perhaps just the braking a little bit more effective on that Ferrari, using the bias, using the brake migration to his advantage over the Cadillac. A bit of a lockup here into turn 19, and down the inside goes Felipe Chagas. Can he get the move done? He does. Up into 5th place goes the Ferrari, the yellow Cadillac of Provolone back into 6th place, but he has the slipstream here. Can he use it? Chagas trying to break the toe as he goes to the inside, and the cheese man, the Provolone, oh, locking up the rears, and he nearly takes out Chagas. Good collision avoidance from the Ferrari, recognizing the Cadillac on the inside and just taking the defensive line around the outside, holding on to 5th place. And there we see Parker Standrett in the pits with a DNF, just unable to get the settings dialed in for the time being. Indeed, Brian Brown Pants moment right there. But great awareness from Chagas to recognize that the Cadillac was on the inside and slightly out of control there. As he continues his way up the field, he's got a bit of a gap to Siege Engine in front. We can take a look here at the energy remaining. The Chagas does have a good advantage to the Cadillac in front though, so that slightly slower pit stop for Siege Engine might just cost him a bit of time on track to Felipe Chagas after the conclusion of their pit stops. And Stanley is right on the limit now at 13%. He will surely have to come in very soon in that Toyota. He is using that energy the best that he can, though. The gap now is about or even less than a second between the leaders of the hypercars. Toyota on the tail of the Peugeot, nearly within effective slipstream range to try and close down the gap down the straights. Turn 12 gonna be one of the better overtaking opportunities here. As we can see, Elmer and Bigley, the two Fords in the GT3s, already in the pits for a second time. That leaves Terrell and Abbott out on track, still needing to complete one more pit stop in the GT3s, and all of the hypercars will need to come in again to get their virtual energy topped up. Speaking of, Jason Provolone doing just that in the number 3 Cadillac Racing. Up on the air jacks he goes. Marshall Stanley still out on track, not in the pits. Hunter Davis is in the pits though, as he dives in with a relatively more full tank than Stanley had, so perhaps he just doesn't want to do all of the fighting for the time being and electing to take the pit stop and get it done and dusted with just over 20 minutes remaining in the race. You can hear engines screaming all over the place. That's the Corvette of Jake Terrell, the TF Sport, rounding turn 11, going down the back straight. Helicopter trying to keep up with the Corvette. Good straight line speed from the Corvette in the GT3s, going through turn 12. Not a very popular choice in the online lobbies that I usually partake in, the Corvette, but always good to see the many manufacturers represented in both of the fields, the hypercars and the GT3s. Oh, and the Toyota trying to get through the blue flagged Jake Terrell, the two leaders, forcing the Toyota to take the line outside as he drifts through turn number 18 and into the pits dives the Toyota. So now it is on between Hunter Davis and Marshall Stanley for the overall lead. This is where Hunter Davis is going through now, turn number 13 and 14. So just one sector left for him until he crosses the pits, where Marshall Stanley is currently stationary and letting the mechanics do the work that they need to do to get that car serviced and rolling back out on track. Hunter Davis more than likely had a slightly shorter pit stop as his virtual energy was more topped off than Marshall Stanley. He has been dropped and he has been released, but is still limited to 60 kilometers per hour down the pit lane as he just waits until he can release himself down the pit limiter, and Hunter Davis comfortably through already into the S's, and that undercut proving not so effective because Hunter Davis, like we said, didn't have to top up his fuel as much as Stanley did, so the gap between them has grown to 14 seconds. And a bit of a difference there between Davis and Stanley. 55 compared to the 64%, and Chagas with 12% will certainly have to come into the pits again in the 83 Ferrari. Siege Engine at 2%, and Jake Finn out in the lead, still with 7% remaining, so he is certainly playing the long game here, trying to stay out as long as possible. Siege Engine into the pits in the number 2 Cadillac, as is the leader of the GT3s, Jake Terrell in the TF Sport. Just over 16 minutes left completes his final pit stop. Car gets dropped and he is rolling. Cadillac of engine parked there in the pit still, waiting for the virtual energy to get topped off. And Denver Apt in the pits as well in the 54 Ferrari. So all of the GT3s completing their final pit stops here. Terrell, Abbott, Elmer, and Bigley, the remaining runners in the GT3s. Unfortunately, lots of mechanical troubles for the remainder. Standrette in 5th, Williams, Felker, Banks, and Fujiwara suffering from trouble early on in the race. Siege Engine here, finding himself just behind Chagas, nearly 5 seconds back. But more than likely, Chagas will have to complete another pit stop. I don't think 12% will get him across the line, or 7% now even, in that Ferrari. So Siege Engine will take that position away from the 83 as the Cadillac locking up into turn number 12. There's a yellow flag out on track as well. And that was just for a moment's time. That is done and dusted, and the battle continues between the GT3s, Elmer and Abbott, separated by half a second after the Ferrari exited the pits. So George Elmer, after coming in early in the Ford, finds himself on the tail of the Ferrari in front. Does he have the pace to try and close that gap down and try and take second place away from the 54 to get the Ford off of the final podium position into that middle step? Seeming like the Ford's suffering from oversteer on corner exits compared to the mid-engine cars of the Corvette and the Ferrari. A brief yellow flag there as well. Jake Finn completing his pit stop. He comes out in 3rd place, 1.5 seconds behind Stanley, who has 11 seconds to chase down Davis in front in the closing 13.5 minutes here. George Elmer trying to get the grip in the Ford. Has a look to the inside, but isn't quite close enough to go side by side just yet. The Ferrari gets a pretty decent exit out of the corner. Not the onboard shot we were looking for there. This one works just fine. Looking on from the back of the Ferrari. With the Ford taking the curbs very effectively through turn 20 to start another lap here at COTA. Ford again just having a slight look to the inside as the Cheese Man approaches in the number 3 Cadillac. Just trying to get through the GT3 cars here in the S is a very difficult place to do just that. Out of turn 6, it's possible to do it into turn 7 with these corners slowing down as they continue to climb up the hill. But more than likely, Provolone just waiting it out and looking to get the move done on these lapped cars into the braking zone at turn 11. Perhaps just waiting even more here. We'll look to do it down this back straight. And there we can see the Cadillac roar on by using the hybrid system it has on board to absolutely charge through the GT3s. Another brief yellow flags popping up left and right here as it looks like Abbott has been able to grow the gap pretty considerably to George Elmer, who himself has a very sizable gap to one Bigley to hang on to that final podium position. So Hunter Davis just has a little under 11 minutes left to hang on to the race win in the number 93 Peugeot. The fast-charging Marshall Stanley within 10 seconds behind, though. The Toyota has proven to be very quick around the 20 corners here at COTA. But Hunter Davis hanging on for the time being as the timer continues to tick down in the race. Hunter Davis will be hoping that the time ticks down even faster as Marshall Stanley, starting from pole position, power sliding the Toyota out of turn 1. Just trying to get any pace that he can. From the Toyota to advance even higher up the field, trying to close the gap to Hunter Davis, but the time, like we said, is ticking away. The laps are ticking down. Can he close down that gap? 6 seconds now, and that will be the time to watch, with Jake Finn back in third place now in the 38 Porsche. Nearly 9 seconds separating him from Stanley in front. Another 9 seconds back to the Cadillac of Siege Engine, going through turn 11 now. And Felipe Chagas, after his pit stop for the final time, is in 5th place. Splitter once again on the front end, just dragging along in the Ferrari, sparking up through turn 1. And then as he dips down the hill, the diffuser on the back sparking away. Just different parts of the Ferrari sparking away. Jason Provolone in 6th place in the number 3 Cadillac. The Cheese Man in the appropriately like, oh, a very, very dangerous bit of snap oversteer there. He keeps it out of the wall, though. Locking up the wheels, though, that'll certainly be a bit of a flat spot for the Cadillac in the remaining laps of the race. But my goodness me, the Cheese Man nearly into the barrier there. Let's enjoy the sights and sounds from on board the number 7 Toyota, working his way through a bit of GT3 traffic there. 3.3 seconds separates the leaders of the hypercars. We can just see the Peugeot come into shot there, going through the 54 Ferrari of Denver Abbott. He's pushing indeed. The Toyota is not giving up on the race lead, looking to the inside of the braking zone to get by the Ferrari. The Ferrari leaving the space. The Toyota getting through. He can see the Peugeot in front. He knows the gap that he needs to close down. He just needs to do it within the time remaining of the race. And is Hunter Davis just hiding his true pace? Perhaps just lifting in a few corners, saving a bit of virtual energy, and then using it when it matters, when the Toyota will get close. But Davis really pushing as well. It looked like he went right over the limits there of the track onto the green turf on the exit of turn number 19. and the gap has shrunk to within 2 seconds between the Toyota and the Peugeot for the race lead of the hypercars. All right, folks, taking a quick water break there. Keeping up with the 70 minutes of action throughout the field can be quite difficult, but it is very difficult for Hunter Davis to hang on to this race win with the very quick Marshall Stanley approaching now. You can see the taillights of the Peugeot again running wide on the exit of turn 11 there. Pushing for dear life, hoping that the time ticks faster than it is now. But Hunter Davis here, just trying to hang on to the race lead, with Stanley proving he is very quick in that Toyota. Was at the bottom of the hypercar field at one point, made the move on engine, made the move on Jake Finn, now just has to make the move on Hunter Davis if he can close down the gap. It's at 1.2 seconds now. Hunter Davis will certainly be feeling the pressure. Is the Peugeot damaged? I'm not sure. It didn't seem like there was any incidents with the Peugeot and any other car in the field, unless there was some contact with some of the GT3s when he was trying to lap them. So I can't say with 100% certainty that there is no damage. And he oversteers and the Toyota follows suit out of turn 1. The 2 leaders just drifting it on the exit there. Oh, and nearly losing it through the end of the S's was Hunter Davis. The gap within a second now between the leaders of the hypercars. The Toyota wiggling for grip, trying to get the move done on the Peugeot. Is this the lap that the Toyota can try to get the move done? It's right on board again with the number 7. The gap considerably close now between the two, as time keeps ticking away. 3.5 minutes left. We'll have more than likely this lap plus 2 more, or maybe just 1 more even. We'll just have to wait and see what the time is when the 2 cross the line here. It looks like there will be 2 laps left for Marshall Stanley to try to get the move done. He is very close, going through turn 18 and 19 into turn, or 17 and 18 before, I should say. This is turn 19. The Peugeot again running a little bit wide onto that green turf on the exit. The Peugeot, oh, again, a slide on the exit of turn 20. Is this the moment that Stanley was looking for to get the race lead back? The Peugeot hanging on to the inside has the optimal racing line for the time being. Can Stanley get the over-under done? Down the hill through turn 2 they go. Stanley hanging it on around the outside into turn 3 and through the S's side by side. He hangs on. He gets the lead. Pushing the Peugeot just a little bit off of turn 4. That is a very brave move from the Toyota, and he gets it done through the S's. Taking the race lead back, Marshall Stanley in the closing moments of the race was able to get the move done through the S's, taking advantage of the Peugeot having the non-optimal racing line on the exit of turn 1, gets the over-under done, and sweeps through the outside. That was absolutely epic stuff from the Toyota. Now he just has 2 laps remaining. This lap plus 1 more to hang on to the race lead. Or can Hunter Davis perhaps find that little bit of pace advantage? Thank you for the raid. Hope you guys had a lovely stream. You're tuning in at just the right moment. 1 minute left in the race here. Marshall Stanley finding a bit of GT3 traffic, perhaps at the wrong time. After just inheriting the race lead on the lap before, can he hang on in the Toyota for 1 more round? 3.46 miles separates Marshall Stanley from the race win. 20 corners to go. Turn 1 approaching. That is done and dusted. And now the S is here, where he got that fantastic move done on the lap before over Hunter Davis. He just didn't quite have the grip to fight the Toyota here, as there is a bit of GT3 traffic here. And yeah, just under a minute left, or even less than a minute left. 0s on the board. This will be the final lap of the race. Marshall Stanley with that fantastic move through the S's, getting it done. Can Hunter Davis fight back? Jason Provolone there in the number 3 Cadillac, just letting the faster cars through. But Marshall Stanley looking like he has got this race win, unless something dramatic happens here. The Peugeot is not letting him breathe, though, in the braking zone. Marshall Stanley running a little bit deep through turn 13. Can Hunter Davis do anything about his position, as he himself runs a little bit deep into turn 16? And just the quick corners of 17, 18 to go for the right-handers, and then the 2 left-handers of 19 and 20. Marshall Stanley has 1 corner left before taking the checkered flag. An incident early on for him saw him slip back the field from pole position, but he takes the race win back, flashing the lights, taking the checkered flag. Congrats to him on that epic comeback drive, fighting his way through the field. Hunter Davis, a great result in the Peugeot, qualifying, I believe, outside the top 5, finding himself in 2nd place. Jake Finn will take 3rd place and round out the podium of the hypercars. Jake Terrell across the line in the 81 TF Sport Corvette to take the race win for the GT3s. Siege Engine across the line in 4th in the Cadillac, as Denver Abbott rounding turn 16, the high-speed section of 17-18 left for the 54 Ferrari. It looks like just a bit of damage on the left front end of the Ferrari, so perhaps just not having the pace to fight for the lead with the damage he picked up early on. But nonetheless, that damage did not hurt him from taking a podium place. P2 as he crosses the line, with George Elmer putting up a good fight in the 88 Ford. The 2, or I should say Elmer and Abbott, having some good battles throughout the race there. One Bigley across the line to take 4th place. And we lost Standrett, Williams, Felker, Banks, and Fujiwara in the GT3s early on with some troubles. Chagas takes 5th place, and Jason Provolone across the line to take 6th. And that concludes the race here tonight. Thank you, Nits, for the raid. Hope you guys had a lovely stream earlier on. Thank you for the support here at Trackalicious. Let's take it back to our lovely studio here for our closing thoughts and quick chat with some of the drivers, if they wish, our podium sitters wish to hop in for a quick chat, and we will get things started there. Jake Terrell already here. Let's bring him in. Jake Terrell, congrats on that race win in the GT3s. Slightly different circumstances. Yeah, a bit unlucky for Chandler Williams. I'm not quite sure what happened there. What happened? Were you able to see what happened from your perspective there? Sorry, Jake, 1 second. Had a bit of audio troubles there. Let's repeat all of that back.
Oh, that's perfectly fine.
My bad.
No, that's perfectly fine. I was just saying that I don't really know what happened to him because I pitted, and after I came out of the pits, he DNF'd. I don't know what caused his DNF. The race start between me and him was definitely scrappy, not the cleanest. He's sticking his nose in places that it doesn't belong. He hits me, I hit him back, he passes me, and then I pass him cleanly. I guess he didn't like that, and I get punted off the track. Whatever happened to him was karma, because Chandler's very fast, and if he was that much faster than me, he didn't need to try to break deep on my defensive line and hit me off track. That's all I think. But the race was definitely tough. It was definitely definitely a marathon. Very much.
Yeah, it's a long one with 70 minutes, huh?
Yeah, but it's good because it allows you to just push, not really think about fuel. There's 2 pit stops guaranteed. You don't have to worry about somebody doing a single pit strat and winning the race by a minute. But I'm happy to win that race for sure, but definitely underprepared. Lack of consistency, but in a couple of spins, it's just I'm happy. Don't get me wrong. It's just the beginning of the race soured it a little bit for me. And
yeah, it happens. It's I'm sure it's just it's LMU also. Like, I'm sure a lot of us are getting used to how the cars kind of behave still. So I'm sure nothing malicious on his end. But yeah, nonetheless, it's always difficult to hear that there was a bit of kind of contact. We didn't quite catch exactly what happened. It's always hard with the multi-class being able to swap back and forth between the 2 classes where things are happening in one and the other, but it's always nice to hear from the drivers, at least at the end, to hear what action we didn't catch. So I'm sure if there is anything to be sorted, the stewards will handle anything like that, but still able to get the consistency a little bit down towards the end. Had a good gap over P2 at the end as well.
Yeah, definitely strung out the gap quite a bit, especially after the second pit stop. I don't know if they took tires or not, but came out of the pits with an extra 12 seconds on them or something like that. And then even if they were on fresh tires, I was able to still pull the gap out a little bit more by the end. And I was finding consistency on the worn tires. The pace just wasn't where it was supposed to be, but wherever the next race is, I'm definitely going to prepare a bit more for it because after the contact in the first stint, headspace wasn't perfectly in the right place and just stupid mistakes, and I wasn't able to pull the gap back down to Chandler. Like, I definitely had the pace to keep up with him and be faster than him, shown by qualifying, but nevertheless, I'm happy to bring it home and ready to have a couple of drinks, celebrate it, talk to the boys, and
heck yeah,
just kind of watch the race back from your point of view. But
yeah, it was
thank you for having me as always.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for providing a bit of insight as well. And always fun to see a bit of a, man, I don't want to really call it a rivalry, but we'll see what happens in the next race. You never know. Next race at Imola is next time out is at Imola. So we'll see what happens there.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course, Jake. Thanks for joining us here tonight. nobody else in the green room for the time being. And we can't take a look at the final standings, but I can repeat them back to you. In the hypercars, we had Marshall Stanley in the lead, followed by Hunter Davis, 1.5 seconds back, and then Jake Finn across the line to take third in the 38 Porsche. Siege Engine was in fourth, and Felipe Chagas in fifth. Gotcha, Eric. Thank you so much for getting that set up. I'll let you know when we are ready. And then to round out the hypercars was Jason Provolone in sixth place in the number 3 Cadillac. We lost Hunter Lynch earlier on in the Lamborghini during the formation lap. Unfortunately there, not quite sure what happened to Hunter. And then in the GT3s, Jake Terrell finished on top in the 81 Corvette, followed by Denver Abbott in the 54 Ferrari. George Elmer rounds out the podium in the 88 Ford, with one Bigley taking the checkered flag in fourth in the sister 88 car. We lost Parker Standrett a little bit later on in the race with some wheel and brake issues. Chandler Williams, not sure what happened to him in the 77 Ford, also lost the 44 of Felker. Lester Banks in the 92 Porsche and the number 95 Fujiwara in the McLaren earlier on as well. So that is the final standings for you, my friend Alex K. Wondering of those standings earlier on, and our lovely friend, our lovely admin Eric has the raid set up. So thank you all for joining us tonight in the multi-class race on Tuesdays. We will be back next week at Imola for another 70-minute race, with that 2-time fuel consumption to keep in mind as well for the drivers, to add a little bit of variety. We saw slightly mixed strategies tonight. Very looking forward to what happens around Imola. Lots of good overtaking opportunities in yet another undulating track. Lots of hills, lots of twisty corners. Should be super exciting. Tomorrow we've got multi-class action in ACC in the GT3s and the GT4s. Thursday we go to iRacing for GT3 and LMP2 multi-class. On Fridays back to LMU in the GT3s. Then Saturday day off. Sundays we've got GT3 in iRacing. Mondays we go to the rookies for ACC in the GT4s. If you are interested in signing up for any of those series, make sure to check out SimGrid and then hit up the Discord for all of the latest news and features. Thank you all for joining us tonight. Have a good rest of your morning, afternoon, evening. We will catch you all next time.